the pale blue dot.
Says,
hi.
Welcome to the My Mate podcast.
Thank you so
First
much.
podcast.
It is. Yep.
Excited? What are we thinking? Feeling?
I'm really excited because, I don't know, I guess I've always wanted to be on a podcast and I like what you put out there, so it's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, the first time I met you, I think the first thing I thought was, holy fuck, that chick has a lot of tattoos. And then that hasn't changed. But
No.
I've never known what was your first tattoo and how many do you have?
Whenever someone says how many do you have, I either say one big one.
Yeah, that's true.
Or all of them.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Or do you do it in like
know.
hours? Like how many hours you've been in for?
I've tried to figure it out before and it's over 100.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like my first one was when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
It's a butterfly on my ass.
Good.
It's
Good.
great. It's amazing.
Well, you can get it out for the podcast if you'd like. Maybe later.
Maybe later, yeah. Maybe on the second podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Does that have any like meaning or?
The butterfly.
Yeah.
That was like a fuck you mum kind of one.
Very meaningful.
Yeah, super meaningful. I've had like various stages, throughout my life, like a satanic stage and like, collecting dead animals stage. So obviously.
Of course. I think we
Yeah.
all go through that stage.
Of course.
It's a very normal, positive. I think
Yeah.
it's a psychological development stage,
100%. So I've got a few that are kind of aligned with those kind of themes or like various stages in my life.
Yeah.
But now I kind of just get stuff because I like it. Like the last one I got was a bunch of broccoli.
So good.
My friend and I got matching ones.
Oh, sick.
So I like to get matching ones with people, and then they kind of have more meaning than...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think because I've got a couple. I don't have anywhere near as that, but I do want to just keep adding because it's just so addictive. Why do you think it's addictive? I've told people before that I think it's because you go through something to get it, and then it's also just quite enjoyable at the same time. But I don't know.
I think for me, because I'm quite OCD, I find that I need to be like symmetrical.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, unless you start off by getting just like your entire back done, you're always going to feel like you're a bit lopsided.
Yeah, true.
So you're always going to feel like you've got to get something on the other side to match.
Yeah.
So it's more of like an aesthetic. It's more of like an aesthetic
There's
thing.
like completely cut the meaning idea out of it. You're like, yeah, no, this is
100%.
because it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's just because I want to look good.
Yeah.
Next question.
I got one knee done. I've obviously got to get the other
Of
knee
course.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of people do put a lot of more thought and meaning into their tattoos, but I think once you get to a point where you look like this anyway, it's like fuck it.
Yeah, I know. Would you ever go the face?
No.
Not even like a little Post Malone type thing, or?
Oh my god.
I think he has the Jesus Christ thorn rose crown up there or something.
Yeah, good on people who have the balls to fucking do that.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think I'd take it that far. I've
Yeah.
considered the neck before.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, if I got one side, I have to get the other side.
And then you just have a neck.
Yeah, so I can't even go there because it'll be...
You may as well just get someone to colour you in.
Well, I'm actually getting stuff covered up now.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so this one is a big cover up of like one of the first ones I got.
All right.
Yeah, so the whole inside is going to be completely black.
I actually thought that arm looked darker when you took your top off
It's
before.
like two sleeves over the top of each other.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's gold. Do you
Yeah.
just get sick of the first one?
I think, it was in my art stage. It was
Good.
one of the earlier stages.
Yeah.
So it was like a full sleeve of like Salvador Dali.
Okay.
Because I went to art school when I was younger for
Yeah.
4 years. So that was like a big passion for me, and I was like really obsessed with Salvador Dali. So obviously get your entire arm
Of course.
and like a mishmash of
It's-
Salvador Dali.
Of course.
That doesn't really work.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I realised it didn't really work quite soon after getting it, but just stuck it out for a good 7 years.
Yeah.
Until my friend who tattoos me was like, have you ever thought of going over that? Like, as if he'd wanted to say it for ages, but just...
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, could you?
Mhm.
Like, that would be amazing.
Hey, I didn't ask, but if you're
Yeah,
offering...
I was like, you know what? Please.
Yeah.
Please. But he lives in New Zealand, so it's kind of it's a long-term sort of situation.
Yeah. So what brought you over to Australia then?
So I used to be a chef.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
after the art phase, there was
Yeah.
a hospitality phase.
Good.
I qualified as a chef back in New Zealand, and my lifestyle was quite like party, that whole hospitality sort of like stereotypical lifestyle, I guess. And I didn't really have many like goals or aspirations in terms of doing anything other than getting as fucked up as I could as often as possible.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
It was great.
Yeah.
Like, I had a good time.
Easy goal.
Yeah.
As long as you maintain it.
Yeah, well, I think that was the problem. I was maintaining it like too consistently. And someone suggested to me, because I was in one of those sort of like rut sort of phases where I was like, where am I going with my life? What am I doing? Obviously running away from all of your problems is quite an appealing aspect.
Yes.
So someone said, oh, you know what? You'd really fit in Melbourne. I don't know
Really?
why. I don't know why they said that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'd never been here before.
You do?
I do, right?
Yeah.
They were right.
Yeah.
But like, I'd never been here before. But I was just like, fuck it. So yeah, I just moved over here. And I fucking hated it.
Oh, really?
It was like, you know those days where it's like hot, but it's also windy?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what is happening? And that's like not a thing in New Zealand. Like, if it's windy, it's cold.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand it. And it was just awful. And I remember like lying on the floor in my friend's house, my like one friend that I had over here, and like crying like a fucking bitch and being like, I want to go home. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Why is it hot and windy? Like, this is the worst place ever.
The weather really does make a difference.
Yeah, it was awful.
I know. God.
And whenever it's like that now, it like brings me back to that moment, like 7 years ago, where I was like, fuck this place.
Yeah, like traumatized from that one day. It was like probably like in a sea of like good weather, but that one day like fucked you so bad.
One day, it was so terrible. But yeah, I had a job, so I qualified as a chef, obviously, and I had a job already lined up.
Okay.
Over here, and just coincidentally, it happened to be in the area that I still live.
Okay.
So I just ended up getting a share house and, working as a chef for like a couple of years before I realized that I kind of hated that. And then along the way, I kind of ditched all my like drinking, drug taking, smoking, all the negative habits, and kind of went the opposite direction and just became really obsessed with being like as fit and as healthy as I could.
Yep.
And because I've always been the sort of person who like, I can't just have a hobby. I'm going to like be fucking obsessed with that thing. Because in my mind, like, that's the only way you can be good at something is you've got to be obsessed with it.
Yep.
So I decided I wanted to do it as a career. And then I did my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness. And then got a job at a gym and then found CrossFit. And that was when I met you.
Yes, I know, that was good. I'm just interested in because it's so difficult for people to transcend their addictions, to put a bit of jargon over it, but like you seem to from your story then just to being able to remove yourself from the drugs and the smoking and the alcohol pretty easily. Was it a difficult process, or was it just something that happened over time the more you got into training and health?
Well, I had like a really bad period when I was younger, when I was smoking meth, and I had like a really I was in a really abusive relationship, and I kind of was just a big clusterfuck of just like shit things, hanging out with like shit people and being a shit person myself. And it just all kind of got just way out of hand, and I tried to kill myself.
Right.
And after that, it was kind of like a good thing in a way, because you know how sometimes you get so far to the bottom that it kind of like sparks this new sort of lease on like, no, I can fucking get through this. And it's sort of almost like a light bulb moment of like, I'm just going to change like everything about my life. So I kind of had one of those moments, and that was before I moved over here.
Okay.
And I think like I sort of had a similar sort of moment again, like maybe like 5 years later, where I was like, I'm just doing the same fucking thing again. Like, not to the extreme that I was doing, but the same, like, I don't really have a goal, I don't really have ambition, I'm not really trying to be better, I'm just being like, just an average piece of shit, and just that realization, like, makes you be like, fuck that. Yeah. So I guess I had one of those moments again, and that again spurred me to just go the opposite direction again and get really fit, get really healthy. but I haven't had another fallback off the wagon
Good.
so far.
Good.
So we'll touch the wood,
Yeah.
and hopefully that was my last one.
Yeah. It's every person I think that I've spoken to and that I hear about that's gone through something incredibly difficult like that, you know, and that is just an objectively difficult thing to experience, you know. Because I think that the euphoria associated with meth, not that I've tried meth, but apparently it's just like unbelievable to the point where if you are going through a rough patch, the addiction is so strong because it's like, this is just going to solve all my problems like that. It's just so strong, you know. But to go from something like that, what I was saying before, like you said, the lease on life is just, you just have this different picture because you've been to the bottom and you've seen how bad you can get internally and externally, you know. It's like, oh wow, like the only place I can go now that's further than this is suicide, you know. And when you have had a go at that and then it's like, oh wow, I'm still here, there's only one way you can go, you know. And even if you do get those dark times again, you just have that perspective of how bad it can get. But I think you're exactly right, like having a goal and having something to think about to move you forward towards something is super powerful, you know, because if you don't and you start ruminating and just kind of maintaining this life, you're going to start bringing up shit from the past, and then you're going to start falling into these unconscious behavioral patterns and all that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, and it's so easy to slip back into that if you're not constantly holding yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people struggle with, like, so much, is they've got this kind of like default behavior that they just go back to, and mine isn't really like meth.
Yeah.
Anymore.
That's right. But didn't get up with the alarm. Probably just jump on a pipe.
100%.
Yeah.
But for example, I will chew an entire pot of gum in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I've always got that like mindset of like, I'm gonna do something to the fucking extreme.
Yes.
And I just have to make sure that thing for me isn't like a detrimental thing.
Of course.
You know.
Yeah.
Like watch 8 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race in like 3 weeks.
yeah. That didn't happen though.
No,
That didn't happen.
Like hypothetically.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like if you're pushing like a beach ball down in the water, you know, if you're just forcing that, it's gonna pop up somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think people
see
that, you know.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy.
Yeah, well, if you're like, you have that addictive nature, and I think we all do. It's like ingrained within our biology to survive, and we live in this like consumerist mentality where this will make me happy, and it's feeding that like that external validation, that need to be validated externally, and it pops up everywhere, like even down to the finite thing, you know, of I really want to write this next sentence, I'll just grab a coffee, and it's very, very unconscious, but that little need outside of self can be detrimental, like you say, if it's without the confines of, you know, meth and, you know, doing all these sorts of things, you know. But like how do you maintain that balance? Do you have any like tools and things, or like
I'm quite bad at that.
Yeah.
And I actually heard someone say once, which I thought was really cool, which was like fuck balance.
Okay.
Basically,
nice.
What if you're truly passionate about something, then you can't really have balance in order to be excellent at that thing. And like whatever excellence means to you, like that might not necessarily be that you're like an elite athlete or you're world class at something, but to really give something 100% and to really be excellent at it, it's really quite hard to have balance.
You have to sacrifice.
Well, you do have to sacrifice, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Like, for example, if you want to be a really good weightlifter, then it's about your diet, it's about your recovery, it's about your mindset, it's about all those things around training. It's not just like doing your program for 2 hours, 5 days a week. You know, you got to go to bed at this time, you got to eat this thing, you can't go out drinking, you can't just order Uber Eats every night.
Yeah.
And like that, to me, that's not being balanced. Like, I wouldn't consider my lifestyle to be balanced.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm constantly saying no to like normal things, like no, I can't go out for brunch with you because I have to literally eat this container of food that is weighed and measured, and that's what I have to do.
And the container as well.
And
like plastic is a big part of my diet, you know.
I need to eat from this plastic container. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I did that this morning.
Eat the plastic?
Oh yeah,
Good.
It's great.
Good.
Yeah. cheaper than supplements.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So,
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a little high, you know.
Good. Yeah.
It's not mad, but it's a little win.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on like how committed you are to that thing. And I think it's that question of like how bad do you want it, and you know, if maybe you value like your social life more, or you value your you know, being able to eat what you want, or being able to like go to bed at midnight and all that kind of stuff. If you want to do that more, then that's okay. But just maybe accept that the results that you're going to get from that lifestyle aren't going to be quite the same as if you did sacrifice and have less balance in terms of
I think that's a really, really good way of looking at it. I think people, you know, we have so many assumptions with specific words, you know, different connotations, and the idea of balance is someone that just, you know, has every little aspect of their life perfect, you know.
Yeah, like,
and
is that even a thing?
No, exactly. We're prone to imperfection, and that's the beauty of humanity, you know. And I think what you said before was so perfect. Like, and you know, this is touching on your idea previously, which is you have to be goal oriented, because everything unfolds around that goal. If your goal is to be a parent, you know, and you're single and you haven't been on a date in a couple of years, but you really want to be like a mother, or you really want to be a father, you can reverse engineer. It's like, okay, well, I want to be a parent in 3 years' time. What are the things I have to do from where I am now in order to get that? It's like, well, I haven't been on a date in a while. Maybe it's not all these women, you know, maybe it's not all their fault. Maybe it's that I'm a piece of shit. Maybe I need to like work on myself. Maybe I have poor social skills, and then you can start building up from that, you know? And it's like, what is your major thing that you want out of life?
Yeah.
And not only does that set you on a course forwards into the future and become who you could be, but it actually puts everything else into balance, you know?
Yeah.
By not being balanced. I think the biggest thing people struggle with is like, you know, like what we were talking about before the podcast. It's like, you know, I can't get my diet right. I just want to lose 20 kilos. It's like, why? Like, what will your life be like then?
Will you be happy when you get to that weight?
Yeah.
Like focusing on that, like that external validation, and you're just not gonna be happy when you get there.
Yeah.
You know, because you're gonna be like, oh, well, now I want to lose another 10, or oh, sure, I've lost 20 kilos, but my skin's all, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Loose and weird.
Yeah.
So.
True.
Yeah. So I don't know, like I found for me when I stopped focusing on that and I still find myself doing it, I'll be like, oh, I just have to be able to snatch this, I have to be able to back squat this, and it just means that unless I can do that, I'm never going to be happy, you know. Whereas like if I'm just like, I fucking love this, like I love weightlifting, I love the lifestyle that goes there, I love the community, I love everything about it, and just the fact that I'm involved in that now, and comparing like where I'm at now to where I was, say, like when I first met you, and I couldn't even snatch like an empty barbell. Yeah. Was a spastic, right? So
not a spastic. Weren't a spastic.
Rather than comparing myself to say like Maddie Rogers.
Yeah.
Because like,
what's the point?
Like a piece of shit. What's the point of comparing myself to her? But comparing myself to like Sarah a year ago or Sarah like 3 years ago. So it's the same as with like the losing 20 kilos thing. If I focus on, say like one of my clients, like that's actually her goal.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, okay, well rather than focusing on that, think about 6 weeks ago before, you know, you put all these changes into your diet, how lethargic you were feeling, like how bad your training was. And now 6 weeks later, like just by making these small changes, you know, you're now training like 3-4 days a week. You're now sleeping better. You've got more energy and you're finding it easier to get through your work day and like all those things, and just being happy with the things you've achieved so far. I can't even remember what we started talking about.
No, well, it made me think about this idea of self-esteem, and I think we all want self-esteem. Excuse me, it's coffee burp. Oh, that's a fucking good coffee
though,
isn't
I know,
it?
right?
Should we give him a plug?
Black Salt,
Black
guys.
Salt
Black
in
Salt.
Bentley East.
Bentley East.
Black Salt. Well done, guys. I'll get him on the podcast.
Definitely.
Yeah. How has coffee changed your life, you know? Nah. But that idea of self-esteem, like we all want it, you know, we all want to feel good about ourselves, but like, how do we actually get it? And I think you outlined it really well then. It's just like doing things that you didn't think you could do, and becoming a better person than who you were yesterday. But actually tracking that as well, we get so, again, this is that animal brain within us. We only focus on the negative because, for hundreds of thousands of years, we were only thinking about survival. It was only really in 200 years, 21st century now, that we can sit around and talk shit and, do podcasts and stuff. We don't need to think about living every day. And it fucks with our head because our brain's like, well, what though? But could this podcast equipment kill you? Like, what's this coffee going to do? Like, holy fuck, you didn't snatch this number. Like, you're not good, But we've moved into this position now that we actually can think about who we could be and who we could become. And that's why I think I found CrossFit initially as well, and why people like us is, we get so much out of it, because you actually get to see tangible results when you get a PB, you snatch a number that you didn't think you could. It's like, holy shit, like all of that is actually led to something tangible, Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing you can teach people as well. The idea that, hey, this thing is not only good for your health, but you're actually going to see who you could be, and you can apply it to the rest of your life as well.
Yeah.
Like how much of your coaching is applicable to other aspects of life as well, like with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important, like when you're training someone in like CrossFit or weightlifting, or you're just a personal trainer or whatever it is you're doing, like the actual physical part of it is such a small component. And I found like when people actually start to see results from it, it's because you're actually focusing on things like mindset and sleep and nutrition and like all this kind of stuff. And I think that like being vulnerable with people and having that like actual connection with them, getting to know them, and why they binge eat, why their sleeping is bad, why they don't feel motivated to train, and really not that we're like psychologists, but you kind of almost are to a certain extent, because people like share things with you about their relationships, about whatever's going on in their life, and it's kind of your responsibility to think about how that's going to affect their progress. If someone's constantly eating like a tub of Ben and Jerry's like every night because their partner like doesn't want to have sex with them, for example, that's massive. Like that's something that if you work with them to change how they feel about themselves and change how their relationship is with their partner, then you can get them to maybe change that behavior, and that's going to lead to them actually seeing those results and see them losing that 20 kilos, rather than demonizing them for like, stop fucking eating ice cream, stop, you know what I mean? Because it's, like you said, it's a self-esteem thing. Yeah, we
have these unconscious needs, don't we? And sometimes it's not, like you said, it's not even about the training. I mean, we all know, we have like two brains. We have the animal brain that just wants to fuck all the time, eat heaps of food and sleep. Sometimes. Yeah, apparently. Exactly. Yeah, but we have that brain, and then we have this like other brain that is constantly telling that brain to not do the things that we end up doing. Yeah, it's like we eat all this food, and then for other people, like they gamble, they watch tons of porn, they have sex addiction, they have all these things, and as you're doing, I literally did this last night. I was eating this food, and then I was aware that, the movie that we'd watched had stopped. It wasn't that late. It was like, okay, my mind, I could feel the thoughts starting to ruminate. And then unconsciously, I'm starting to think about food, And then I'm like, I actually did end up going to Macca's last night to get a sneaky chicken burger, But as I'm eating it, I'm like, I'm not even full now. I just don't want to be with myself. And it's like, I'm aware of that. But like you say, for your coaching clients, sometimes the reason why they're eating all that and they can't lose weight isn't just because their body's some bizarre anomaly that's not like 7.5 billion other bodies out there. Yeah. It's actually like this unconscious need that's coming from something like feeling down that they aren't having sex frequently or something like that, And I think when you're put into these uncomfortable situations like weightlifting or doing something new that you suck at, you have to contend with a lot of that. How was that for you when you found? How did you find CrossFit, by the way?
So weirdly, I got hit by a car.
Good. Outside a CrossFit gym.
As you do.
Yeah.
Got hit by a car, and I basically couldn't do anything lower body because I kind of fucked my knee up.
Okay.
So I was doing like heaps of pull-ups, heaps of bench press, obviously.
Yeah, cool. So you're already training before CrossFit?
Well, I was training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For life.
Like I could probably squat maybe like 50 kilos.
Yeah.
You know,
probably more than I can squat right now.
On a good day.
Yeah.
So I wasn't particularly like anything.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to see the physio at Mad, who
Johnny. Yeah.
So I ended up going to see him, and because one of my mates, Jerem actually, you know Jerem?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to work with him, and he was like, oh, you know, you'd really like CrossFit, and all I could think of was all the negative connotations that obviously surround CrossFit of like injury and like people doing dumb shit and like all that kind of thing. And as a trainer, I didn't really want to like put myself in that kind of.
Hi, I'm a CrossFit coach.
Yeah.
Judge me.
Yeah, exactly, because there's just so much negative perceptions around it. But he was like, you know, obviously he's a CrossFitter himself and he's not a dumb shit. So it's like, okay, well clearly it's just maybe some CrossFitters.
Yes.
You know, so anyway, I started seeing John to fix my knee. And obviously CrossFit Richmond is downstairs. And he like ended up talking to like the coaches and getting me to start training. And I pretty much just fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And actually thinking about it now, like I was in a relationship that I felt pretty, I guess, unappreciated and like unfulfilled. Like I didn't feel like, I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel like I was with the right person, I guess. Fuck, no offense if he's watching it.
That's okay. You haven't said his name or anything, so that's all good. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. It's just didn't work at the same time. So.
It just wasn't. No, he's lovely.
I have said much worse on the show, so don't worry. It's all good.
So I guess I needed to like put all my like frustration in terms of that relationship into something, and that was the thing, and ended up being like the actual breakdown of the relationship.
Did you think it was an escape initially?
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, because I felt like, okay, now I feel like I'm good at something. Now I feel, well, I wasn't, to be fair, but
You were trying.
took me 6 months to get double unders, but
Fuck, it took like 9 months. For everyone that doesn't know CrossFit,
God.
skipping is like, so double unders is like when the rope revolves twice before you hit them.
And it's like, some people get it the first try and it still shits me.
Yeah.
I'm like, you fucker, it took me 6 months.
Honestly, it took me 9 months. I would practice every day and whip myself, and I was like, holy, I'm like some perverted
Me
weirdo.
too, I was covered in whip marks.
Yeah, like I swear, I'm not getting bashed. Dad?
So bad.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I was instantly good at because I didn't have a background of, you know, being like doing PE at school or playing a sport or anything like that. I mean, I smoked for fucking 10 years. Like, I wasn't fit or strong or anything that gave me like the natural inclination to be good at it. But I think I just had like the determination and persistence to be like, I don't fucking care if I'm shit at this thing. I'm just going to keep trying, and ended up just putting all of my efforts into that. And obviously the relationship, which wasn't good in the first place,
Yeah.
got worse because I just stopped really caring and stopped really trying.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, I'd rather try and get double unders.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't want to have sex.
Yeah. I don't want to.
Unless you want to have sex with double unders.
I'd literally be like, yeah, all right, but it's not. Then I've got to get to the 9 a.m. session.
Yeah.
So like, chop.
Quick.
Yeah.
In and out, so to speak. Tonight's only going to work if we have this rope in the bed with us, or this barbell, again, so to speak.
I was the worst. Like, you know, I feel like I blamed so much of it on him, but if I think about it in retrospect, who wants to fuck someone who's like got a good, who's thinking about the wad?
Yeah. That's so true.
No one.
Oh, PB. That's so good.
Actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've got a question for you. I think a lot of people struggle with attaining their goals because they can't seem to solve the problem that's going to get them there. CrossFit puts you in the deep end straight away because there are a billion different things that you suck at, and you don't have butterfly pull-ups, you don't have double unders, you don't know how to do a burpee efficiently, you don't know how to squat, you don't have good mobility, you don't sleep very well and you're stressed, so you're not going to recover very quick. I literally could go on, and you could go on for 6-7 minutes. There's so many things you suck at. How, like what, I'm just interested in your mindset of like coming to CrossFit, like you say, with a background of smoking for 10 years, and then being addicted to sucking. Because that's what I think separates the successful people, to use that word, from the unsuccessful people, is their constant drive to put themselves in the deep end and accept challenges and accept what they suck at, but try to actually solve the problem. Like, where does that drive come from you?
I think, like, I read this quote actually that kind of sums up how I approach everything. It's from Winston Churchill, that success is to move from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And I think that I've always had that, and that I don't see, like, I failed at something as like, oh, well, I'll just fucking stop. I'm obviously just not good at that thing. It's kind of like a starter pistol almost. So, like, I'm bad at that, fucking show you who's bad at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I found that with CrossFit, and the thing that I was worst at CrossFit was weightlifting.
Yeah.
I was always fucking shit at it, just really uncoordinated, not strong in the first place. So that was always like my biggest struggle. So, and knowing that and making that my focus and being like, you know what, fuck CrossFit, I'm just going to start trying to be good at this thing, because that was the thing I was like absolutely worst at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas I think a lot of people with CrossFit, they're like, oh, I'm shit at gymnastics, so I'm just never going to go to gymnastics. I'm never going to do drills, because I like the feeling of being bad at something. It's not a nice feeling.
No.
You know, like, especially when you've got people stringing ring muscle ups together on the other side of the room, and you're like doing like ring dips with a band and feeling like a piece of shit.
We're doing push-ups with a band because you can't even support yourself.
Exactly. And like having that is just so hard. Like you said, there's so many things at CrossFit that you can be bad at. It shines like a complete spotlight on like every single floor and like every single aspect of your life.
Oh yeah.
It's so hard. And I guess that's why people give up, and you know, because they're like, oh, I don't like feeling like I'm bad at something. I don't like being at the bottom of the leaderboard every single fucking day. Because who does? Like, it sucks.
And it's so easy to hide from that in this day and age. Like, it's so easy. We you know, we can come back to our homes, we can order Uber Eats, we can sit in front of the TV, we can close all the blinds, and we can just be in this little pleasure cave. And we have the TV blasting, we're eating food, you know, we're comfortable physically. So there's no chance for those thoughts to come in to actually contend with, where it's like, hey, maybe you're not who you could be. But I think, you know, if you just have that initial like drive to just put yourself in a position, and CrossFit like really is an extreme of it, you know. I think you and I have gotten a lot out of it, because it just forces you into this position of, wow, everyone here is so much like better looking than me, so much fitter than me, so much more confident, because they're actually fitter and good looking at the same time. And then they're doing all these things that I can't do, you know. What would you say to someone that's like in that position, but is struggling to maintain their ability to keep going?
I think like the thing about CrossFit that's so hard is that you're always comparing yourself to somebody else. And like maybe the beginning of your journey to the end of someone else's, or the middle of someone else's. And I think with the whole like leaderboard, the open, like all that kind of stuff, and even though that's a really cool part of CrossFit, it's also, it can be quite negative and it can be quite detrimental, because when you look at the leaderboard, you're not thinking, oh cool, I'm this much better than I was last year. You're thinking, oh, that fucking bitch is still 5 places ahead of me. And it's like, well, you don't know her or his circumstance. You don't know how long they've been training. You don't know anything about their life potentially. And you don't know why they're better than you or why you're better than them. And like, who fucking cares? Because it shouldn't be about comparing yourself to someone else. But I think that so much of CrossFit, that's what it comes down to, is that you're hoping that someone else does worse than you, because that means that you're going to get the spot on the regionals team because they hurt themselves, or because you were like 5 seconds faster than them. And I don't find that with weightlifting. And even though obviously it's a competitive sport, and at the end of the day you do want to do better than others, I don't feel that I want that at the expense of somebody else, or like, for example, I feel just as like supportive and just as happy with a friend succeeding as I would feel it if I did. And it's just like quite a different mindset, I think.
It is, and it's with weightlifting, it's different because it's just you against the barbell, isn't it? You don't actually come up against it. It's not like you're running at 800 where there's 10 other people around you, and it's just very natural to be comparing. You know, weightlifting is very much centered around yourself, you know, and how you're going to approach the barbell and all that sort of thing. That's just made me think of it then. It's good.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And my coach has always said, like, you know, like you have to think of your opponent isn't a person. You can't control anything about that. Your opponent is a fucking piece of metal.
Yeah.
You know, so all you can control is like your thoughts in that 60 seconds that you're on the platform, and in that moment it doesn't matter if such and such can snatch 5 kilos more than you, or like it's irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It's such a good train of thought to get used to. You know, going back on what we were talking about before, it's comparing yourself to who you were yesterday.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like a mindset tool or something with that? I guess it is probably weightlifting for that, isn't it? It just constantly reinforces that idea.
Yeah, well, I've kept training diaries since I literally started, since I stopped smoking, basically.
Yeah.
And it's really funny going back to like a training diary like 5 years ago, where I'm like, today I ate 5 strawberries and and I finally back squatted 45 kilos or something like that. It's so fucking good. And I always encourage people I train to like write this shit down. I'm like, you know, like you got a 50 kilo deadlift, write it down, like, because every time I'm like feeling shit or feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, which is all the time.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Yeah.
I like go back to my like where I was 5 years ago, and I've even got like my first CrossFit session, and I think I did like, well, I tried to do like hang power cleans at like 25 kilos. And, you know, so now if I like fail a 70 kilo clean, I'll be like, fuck, what a shit. Like, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah. But, you know, if I go back to like one of those diary entries and I watch a video of myself like attempting to.
It's true.
You know, and I think that's such a good tool as well, as like reminding yourself how far you've come, rather than just looking on Instagram at videos of Maddie Rogers or someone like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where like social media and all that stuff can be such a negative thing, because, you know, people are in control of what they put out there and what other people are seeing, you know, and if you're constantly comparing yourself to their best, you're comparing your worst to their best. Like, of course you're gonna feel like a piece of shit. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If I compare myself to you now, or Maddie Rogers, like physically, I'd be like, what the fuck? I can't believe you went to Macca's last week. You suck. And then it's like,
piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. I know. You ate 10 strawberries? What are you doing? Oh. So, where do you want to see yourself in 2 years' time? I want to take us away from the physical stuff just for the moment. How do you see yourself in 2 years with other goals and aspects in life and some of the seminar stuff? Can you talk us a bit about that?
Yeah, so the seminar stuff is pretty cool, and that actually was just a complete kind of accident how that came about, and I think all the best things kind of happen that way.
Definitely.
I never really intended that I was going to like do public speaking, but I have a client who I've been training for about 4 years, and she is a professor. She's head of bioscience at Monash University.
Yeah.
Fucking smart.
Yeah.
Right?
It sounds smart. I don't know what it is. Is that Korean?
I know. I don't know. I failed horticulture in Form 6. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So she's really smart, and I've been training her for ages, and we used to always talk about, we used to read all the same, you know, like Brene Brown and people like that who talk about like vulnerability and courage and failure and all those. We'd have like some real fucking deep chats in our training sessions, and we both got so much out of it. And you know, she was like, you know, I think like it'd be really cool if you put something together, and because you're like a normal person, like I'm not like a David Goggins, or not, he's a fucking
I just finished his book, actually.
Oh my God.
It's fucking crazy.
So full on.
Yeah. It's like, if you're not fucking suffering,
Yeah.
you're gonna fucking suffer. I'm like, man.
Got to run 100 miles with a broken fucking leg.
Yeah, I know. Oh, God.
And it's so powerful and it's so amazing. But so many people can't relate to that.
It's tough.
Because they're like, in what situation would I ever be shitting myself whilst running 100 miles?
Kidney failure, piss and blood.
Why? Like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so many people can't relate to it. So she's like, you're like a normal person. You've had like nothing like horrendous has ever really happened, comparatively, so she's like, I think it'd be really cool. Would you like to come and, put all this stuff together and give like a talk at the uni? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I did that, and I just found it was so rewarding because it wasn't just about me, and just getting messages from like people I didn't know afterwards being like, I found that so helpful. Like, this is what I found helpful, and I could apply that to my situation.
Yep.
Even though their situation is like science, and I'm like,
yeah, I think what I love about you is like, you're probably one of the most down to earth people I think I've ever met. And I love that. Like, even just as an example, and people listening to the show will be able to see that straight away. It's like, before, you don't necessarily laugh about it, but you have a story there, and it's like, we're into the hard drugs, and then you attempted to end your life and all this sort of stuff. But you say it in such a way that it's just so like easy to have a conversation with you. And I learned this when I started coaching you. I had the privilege of coaching you back at CrossFitter Richmond, is that, every day you'd come and obviously, by no means are you where you are now in terms of that physical ability, but you just had this.
Shit, it's fine.
but I really don't think you were shit. I don't think, like, I've coached some bad people. I'm sure you've coached some genuinely shit people. And they just don't have, they're lovely people, but they just don't have any body awareness, And you had body awareness, you just hadn't done weightlifting a lot. But you approached it, you knew exactly where you were, and you never was someone different. And I think that ability to know where you are is how I find you so approachable, So I can't remember what we were talking about.
We were talking about seminars.
Yes, we were. That's why
Yeah.
people have that ability to talk to you about that, because it's just like, you never have this, hey, I'm different from you guys, follow me, this is what works. It's like, I'm exactly the same as you guys. This is what has helped for me. Maybe it'll help for you.
I think that's the thing of being like vulnerable. And
yeah.
I was actually listening to this podcast today. It was like the difference between sympathy and empathy. And rather than being like, oh, you ate a tub of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah.
That sucks.
You're
I'll
gross.
be like, you know what? My partner didn't want to fuck me either. I understand.
My partner is a tub of ice cream. Look, it's a weird fetish.
I eat my feelings too.
Yes.
I fucking get it.
Yeah.
And people are going to be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And they'll feel like more comfortable, like opening up or like whatever. And that's actually going to help them more than just being like, oh, I never do that. Like, I'm fucking perfect. I weigh all my food all the time.
Yeah.
I ate 10 strawberries.
Yeah, that's
and it's
right.
just not.
You genuine? Weird. I can't believe that. I know.
But, like, people don't respect that. They don't buy it. Like,
yeah,
it's
true.
bullshit.
Yeah, it is. We all have fucked up thoughts. We all do shit that, like, we all shit. As an example, we all go to the toilet.
Yes.
Do you know, like, this is a weird thing. I was speaking about this with my partner. And I used to have this weird thing of, like, pretending that, like, I would cough every time I would go to the toilet to make sure that, like, people that were in the house, like, didn't know I was shitting. And then I only started, like, meditating.
Cough the
like,
whole time you were shitting?
No, I would, like, cough. I would cough when it would hit the bowl, like, the bottom of the bowl.
Oh my god, that's such a good strategy.
I was like, everyone's like, holy fuck, that guy's got really bad asthma every time he goes to the toilet. Like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? Like, I don't know, it's weird.
That's a solid strategy.
It's a good strategy.
That's real good.
But then, like, 6 months, so I really, like, this year, and, like, probably last year as well, I was like, okay, I'm going to meditate every day. Like, when I meditate every day, I feel so good. And when I don't, I really notice that I'm, like, really in my own head. And I started doing that probably, like, 9 months ago. Because meditation, it practices that idea of awareness and focus. And, you start to be able to see yourself more objectively as opposed to just being yourself and having life happen to you, not for you. And I would go to the toilet and I had this, like, one moment. I was like, oh my God, like, where's this insecurity coming from? Like, why do I feel like I can't be a human being all the time and just be like, oh my God, I just went to the toilet and took a shit.
Yeah.
So then I started not doing it. I feel so liberated. I'm like, I go to the toilet and poo as well.
How good is it?
It's good.
Like, one of my clients the other week was like, you look really lean. I was like, I did like 5 shits yesterday, which is like,
that's great.
cool.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why.
Yeah, you should make a podcast. Oh, I know. Yeah, so where are you going with the seminar stuff anyway?
Oh, so I did that one.
What was it about? Like, what was it? Telling your story and.
So it's called Mind Gold, which just kind of came to me because it is all the thoughts, all the things that I do to help improve my mindset, basically. And I guess it's telling my story, which I've pretty much told you now.
Yeah.
How I got to where I am, and the things that I do to like keep me on that path of like trying to be excellent.
Yes.
Basically. So that's kind of where it came from. And the whole thing was like geared up to speak at the Lawn Genome Conference, which was like a couple of months ago. So that was like full on because it was like an international, like had international speakers and like scientists and doctors and people with like all these qualifications and me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that was kind of what they wanted, like they wanted someone who was like completely different and who people could like relate to, I guess. So obviously I'm getting up there and I'm talking about my own journey and overcoming my own struggles and how they can relate that to, because they're all like doing like these 10-year fucking degrees. Like,
I was a chef. You guys want your protein balls?
I got my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness.
It's true. It's true.
You know, but I think that it's just like we're all people and we all go through the same fears and like this imposter syndrome basically, which is a lot of what I talk about, and that feeling of like not being enough, like just who you are, you know, and like they have it the same as like I'm sure you have it and I have it, you know what I mean? So I think like that's sort of the main concept behind it, and that's a lot of what I talk about. So after I did that, I got other people like, because I've got a website where I put like my blogs and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same as what you were saying before, like writing just to like get the feelings out basically, and like the more that I write, I kind of like realize stuff about myself that maybe I didn't before. And like, hey, if someone else gets something out of that, then that's cool. But like, I really don't fucking care.
No.
Like, I don't have comments on them. I don't, because it's not about.
It's you.
Yeah, it's just me. It's just actually how I think.
Yeah.
And it's the same with, and if people do get something out of that and send me a message and say like, hey, that's really cool, that helped me with this, that, and the other, then that's awesome. Yeah. But it's not really my...
It's a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. It is a bonus. Yeah, so I guess the whole doing the seminars themselves have been a complete bonus, because I never expected that people would want to pay me to talk. Like, what?
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And like, it was just a random opportunity that came my way that I was like, yeah, all right. You know, and now that I've done that one, like I'm doing one at a retreat like next weekend.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, with some people who didn't even see me there, they just heard about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you heard about me? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yes.
You know, but I think because it's come from like a really authentic place of like, I'm not trying to put myself out there as in a certain way at all. This is like literally just who I am. And same with, you know, your book. It's such an authentic and vulnerable thing to do, to be like, this is who I am, this is how my mind works. If someone else can relate, then that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But not everyone will, and that's all right as well, you know?
Yes, and I think the best thing about doing that, because that book came about as a way for me to just reconcile with a lot of things that I needed to tie up. And found a lot of my diary entries when I was going through a rough spot. And, you know, my dad, who's a writer, he said it'd be a nice idea just to kind of like put those together, see what happens. So I just kind of set up this chronological context, you know, around the diary entries as well. It's just a fantastic way. And again, like what we're talking about here is just applicable to any facet of life. You know, if you have a part of your life that you don't like or you think could be better, and that's all of us, all the time, you know, just actually writing it down, documenting it, and then getting into that idea that you're going to compare yourself to who you were yesterday or a year ago or 10 years ago, you know, to actually just give yourself some like, some fair self-esteem. It's like, you know, you're not a piece of shit. Like, look at who you were back then.
Yeah,
like,
you're
you're actually all right.
So much more of a piece of shit back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sucked back then.
Yeah.
You know, now you suck.
No, you're average.
Yeah. But yeah, writing it down, and I was very similar to you. Like when I released that book, and it's obviously, you know, you do something like a seminar, you write a book, and like you want people to read it, but it's not the be all and end all, because it's just truly like a wonderful thing for you to do. And you know, I had like 30, 40, 50 people buy the book or something. I was like, what the fuck? Really? Like, you want to hear about what goes on in my head? Like, why? Yeah. But it was cool. It was really cool. And I think, getting to my main point, when you do something like that, and we all have a story, you know, you and I aren't special here whatsoever. Everyone out there has their own story of overcoming, their own truth, essentially, you know? And when you project that, or when you say that as authentically as you possibly can, you find that you're actually not that different from other people, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, we all have fucked up thoughts. We all think that we're not enough. We're all insecure. We're all worried about what our partner thinks sometimes when we're having sex. We're all, you know, all these things all the time. We're all human beings. And we can connect through authenticity. You know, I think it's exciting. People say that social media, you know, there's a lot of downsides to social media, and there really is.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at, oh my God, Sarah and Tom doing a podcast. Oh my God, this person has so many more followers and all this sort of stuff. Envy. You know, external validation. But one of the best things about it is that it gives us a medium to do stuff like this, you know, and expose that authenticity. And I think I was listening to this on a podcast just recently. 50, 100 years time from now, privacy is going to be like a hysterical thing to consider, you know, because it's just like, what do you mean? Like everyone's looking at us all the time. It's like, hey, cool. That can be useful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but also you have control of what you like and what you put out there and how you let yourself be seen as well. You know, like, so for instance, I'm not posting like videos of every lift I fail.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, every time I sit on the couch for 2 hours and watch fucking RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't post myself going to the toilet, be like, oh, didn't cough, guys.
Oh my God, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all those things about someone's life, you just don't really know, and I think but people just judge what they see.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to put yourself out there as like an authentic person.
Mm-hmm.
When, you know, everyone's airbrushed and everyone's got like professional photos and everyone's putting that version of themselves out there and not the real person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've obviously airbrushed this. Like, you actually
obviously
don't have tattoos in real life,
No,
and
not
I don't
at
have
all.
a beard in real life, so you know, but you got to do that.
Is it called like Facetune or something?
An app.
Is it an app that you use?
I think there is an app.
Because on RuPaul's Drag Race,
It's like 4 plugs.
they're talking. Oh my God, I love it. But
What is it?
Oh, are you serious?
I don't even know.
Oh, dude. Okay, so it's like America's Next Top Model,
Yeah.
but for drag queens.
Oh,
It's
yes,
fucking
no, I
amazing.
have.
Oh,
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah, our
So
housemate
cool.
was watching this once, I think.
It's
Yeah.
the next level. I love
Now
it.
they call everyone bitch.
They call everyone like, yeah, bitch, and all this weird.
It's mean.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to watch it then.
You do have to watch it. Just don't get like stuck in a hole that I have, and now I'm like starting to follow them all on Instagram.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are we talking about?
I honestly can't even remember. Oh yeah, that app.
Oh, Facetune.
I think I've seen an app before where people can like actually change the way they can change their face structure and like they can.
Yeah, well, it's like you don't want it. It's the same like if you're on Tinder or whatever. Like you don't want to like put all these photos of yourself on there and then you like meet someone and they're like,
What?
the fuck?
Yeah.
So it's
you
the
see
same
your name
with
as Jennifer.
Instagram.
G'day, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the same with Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want someone to meet you and be like, yeah, it's just.
I don't think you want to do that to yourself
No.
either. Like, you don't want to be the person that feels like they have to hide aspects of yourself as well. Like, I think it's more, again, getting back to that thing of self-esteem. Like, you want to feel like you are... I mean, I think being comfortable with who you are is a practice too.
Yeah, oh, it's real hard to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And also, maybe there are some parts of your life that you shouldn't feel comfortable being who you are. Like, I mean, you want to get to a stage where you're proud of being who you are, but I mean... if you're doing drugs every day, it's like, well, what? I mean, maybe I shouldn't be proud of that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should move on. Like I'm in this kind of fine line where like, you know, I see this for my life where like I want to be totally happy and love myself, because if you love yourself, you know, your cup's full and then you can give back, you know?
You know what RuPaul says?
Oh yeah?
If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Very true. It's very true.
She's right.
Yes, no, yeah. She is
Life
right.
lessons from the show.
Yes, that's true. All right. Look, there's been 6 plugs now. We're all the listeners are going to have to watch this show. I think.
So we've got Black Salt Coffee.
Yeah.
And
yes.
RuPaul's... This podcast was brought to you by...
Yeah, that's true. Hello? I know. But on that as well, sometimes it is about taking a look at yourself and being like, okay, probably shouldn't be proud of that. And I can move on and, you know, and then maybe if I don't do that next time, then I can be proud of myself. You know, that always like... I'm happy being who I am, but I also know that I could be someone better tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think, like, I used to be, like, super obsessed with social media. I'd always be checking, like, who's watching my story and, like, how many followers do I have and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I just stopped caring.
Yeah.
You know, and that was, I don't really, like, look at anyone else's feed. Like, I don't... You know, I'm not seeing who's watching my story or who's liking my photos. I just don't care anymore. And I think that's been so liberating, you know, and I actually had someone say to me the other week, like, oh, do you get any, like, you know, do you get, like, negative comments and negative people? And I was just like, on what? Like, what are they going to say?
Oh,
like,
on my Pornhub subscription. Yes, I do. Yes.
Because this person was actually talking about creating an Instagram account that was about, like, a struggle that they'd gone through personally, right? And I was all about that, and was like, you know, that's a really positive thing to be doing, and I think that people could gain a lot from your insight and how you've gone through this experience. And the person's like, oh yeah, but you know, like, X is going to judge me, and this is going to, you know, it's going to be a really negative thing, and people are going to say this and that. And I was like, who fucking cares?
Doesn't matter.
Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, well, don't you get, like, negative comments? And I'm like, about what though? Like, if someone doesn't like me and doesn't like what I'm putting out there, fine, don't follow me, don't like, you don't need to know about what I'm doing, and that's okay. And I think, like, accepting that, like, not everyone is going to get around you and not everyone's going to give a fuck. You're not doing it for that. You're not doing it for the external validation. Like, I do what I do because I fucking love it. Yeah. And if someone else doesn't, well, that's fine. You know?
And I think that's, like, the most the best approach, number one, and it's actually really, like, relieving, because if you are putting yourself out there to the best of your ability and it's honest, you know, and someone doesn't like that, like, well, I can't do anything.
All I've got,
like,
mate.
that's all I got. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying before, because, you know, I bought, like, this bot to get some followers for like 9 months or something, you know, and it was like, it got me like 2,500, and I saw these things rolling in all the time, and I was like, oh, this is great, and then I had like this feeling of just like insecurity, because it became all about the followers and not about me. And it's actually been like the most reassuring thing to just see my numbers just dropping that number down, because I'm like, I'm actually going to define myself by a number.
You're filtering out like these, like,
people that don't even know who I was in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, it doesn't even matter.
What's the point?
Yeah, like if I could get down to like 3 followers, but 3 followers, that's obviously not a goal. It's like mum, dad, and my sister. It's like, yes!
Everyone unfollow Tom now.
Yeah, please, do it.
Quick.
It'll make me feel a lot better. Yeah. Then we get down to a stage where, like, you know, I have maybe whatever number, the number is irrelevant, but people that are really following my journey, as much as I'm following their journey and building a little community where I actually feel comfortable being myself.
Yeah.
It's like, God, the amount of, like, pressure that relieves is like taking that fucking top off the kettle, you know? It's like, what was I doing? But this is obviously how you learn.
Yeah, I was the same as well. Like, that was all I cared about, having like more followers and more likes and all that kind of thing. And it's like, it doesn't mean anything. No. It's just fucking
animal
ridiculous.
Brain. More sex, more food, more people love me, love me, love me.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's that, like, more is better, but it's like, more isn't fucking better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to close that door, because all of a sudden, the construction has just gone hectic. For everyone following at home.
In Burnley.
There we go. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And, you know, we said at the beginning, you know, you pressing that beach ball down in the ocean, it's going to pop up somewhere else. We all have that, I think, just got through Russell Brand's book about recovery for the second time, because it really spoke to me the first time, and then I needed it again the second time when I was getting rid of my porn addiction and getting rid of and this is relative, you know, but getting rid of that, and then trying to understand more about why I always cling to food when I'm bored or tired or feeling like I'm not enough and need to be doing more. And, you know, if you see that as... People think of addiction as, you know, the homeless guy in the street that's pumping heroin into his veins, but it's anything that you need outside of yourself to make you feel better.
Yeah.
And I think if you can start to understand that, you know, you're probably not going to be pressing that beach ball down and have it pop up somewhere else where it's like, hey, you know, I used to be doing this and now I train for 100 hours a day, or now I eat all this food, or it's like whatever it is, it's like, it's still the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like I'm obsessed with followers now. What it was for me was I got out of this, because I've always had that addiction thing. I think we all do. I really think we all do. It's a spectrum. You know, I moved out of having a really shit time with being who I was. And then I wanted to become the person to cure the world of anxiety, you know? And at the time, I was like, hey, I'm doing a really good thing. Upon reflection, so much ego in that. So much ego involved in that. And then I had to remove myself from that. And then it popped up again with wanting to build the best podcast and having all these followers.
Yeah.
And then we're all, you know, always trying to wake up to these things. And who knows, in 6 months time, be like, oh my God. Like, I can't believe you didn't think that 14 coffees a day wasn't, it's like, you know, we're always waking up.
Yeah, I totally understand that. You're like, oh, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
But I think that honestly, if you're not thinking, what the fuck was I doing like 6 months ago, then you haven't really grown and you haven't really progressed.
Yeah.
Like if you go back on your Instagram and you look, or wherever you...
Had those followers. It wasn't Pornhub.
Whatever you were doing like a year ago, and you're just like, oh my God.
Yes.
Like I feel if you're not, then you haven't really tried to like push the envelope any further. You know what I mean? Like... I hope that I look back in a year and I'm like embarrassed that I was only snatching 60 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
Like I fucking better be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I still think that's good, like that's awkward.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
What's So getting back to that question, who do you want to be? We can have a look at it in. I'd love to know some like for numbers for weightlifting. In 5 years' time, if you are still doing weightlifting. Also, where you want to see your seminars, and then maybe some sort of like other personal thing as well. Like who do you want Sarah to be in 5 years' time?
Well, I think I've only recently kind of just realised that helping other people achieve their goals is actually a lot more rewarding for me than achieving my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of realised that with so my job is to basically create programs for like the council and the leisure centres that I work for.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like creating like, you know, like fitness challenges or like fat loss challenges and stuff like that, which sound like super generic, right? Because they're fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is like hopefully like the difference in the ones that I want to create is that they're more about like a holistic approach to improving your life.
Mm-hmm.
So all the things we talked about before, like improving your relationships, improving your relationship with food, improving recovery and all those things around it, and really educating people to like those are the areas that you need to focus on. You don't just need to be spending more time in the gym. So I guess that's kind of where I want to take things in terms of my career, in terms of like the progress I want to see like with my own clients and my like work life, I guess. And I find that by feeling like I'm making a difference to other people, that helps me feel better about myself almost. Because I don't feel like it's a self-validation thing, like I'm such a good coach or I'm such a good, it's about them and just seeing that they're maybe a little bit happier in their life, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I've only just kind of realised that recently, whereas when I first became a trainer, it was all about having like more clients and coaching more sessions and working more hours and all that kind of thing, where now it's like, no, I'd rather have less people but have more engagement with them and really think about what's going to drive them to maybe like have the same mindset that I do, because I haven't always been like this.
Yeah, and it takes the focus off yourself as well, doesn't it? I think the biggest thing with suffering is that it's self-obsessiveness by definition. It's like if you're anxious, you're constantly worried that something bad is going to happen to you.
Always.
You know? You're
always thinking about yourself. Like every time I get in the car, I'm thinking, what if I have an accident? What if this happens? I always keep thinking I'm going to hit someone with my car. I have all these weird thoughts like that all the time. If I start taking the pressure off myself, I find that I feel less anxious about all the things that could go wrong with my life, because I'm thinking about someone else's life and how their life can be better, as opposed to all the ways mine could be worse.
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And I actually think that's how we can all help each other.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's some really good advice as well. So it's with training, and it's also with the mental. Could you see yourself moving into like the mental health world as well? Well,
I've always been really interested by that, and when I first finished high school, I actually started a degree in psychology.
Oh shit!
But then I thought, no, I'll smoke crack instead.
Yeah,
that's the obvious choice.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I know. So I did want to work in mental health, and I also went through another period where I started studying social work.
Okay. But
then I don't even know what happened with that.
Yeah.
I just had so many like stints of like having a go at something and being like, nah, fucking next thing. So it has always been something that I've been really interested in. But I guess for me, it's more in terms of like changing people's mindset in terms of my own like journey, I guess, is all I can do with it right at this point, unless I decide that I want to study. And I feel like I'm a bit old.
What's something you do when you are feeling down? Is there like a little practice you do that is going to help you just kind of like flick that switch, or?
So there's a bunch of things I do every day that tend to help. So I've got like a big journal that I write in every day. I write like my intentions for the day. And it might even, sometimes I'll just write, just fucking get through this day. It might be something real emo like that. Or it might be like, stay over the bar, or something training related, or, give so-and-so advice about this. You know, it'll be really specific. I write something I'm grateful for, and I write like a positive affirmation about myself. And I find that's like the hardest thing to write every single day, because a lot of the time I don't feel particularly good or strong or anything.
Yeah.
You know, so I've really got to like think of something good to say about myself. I do a lot of like, I guess walking for me is like my meditation. Like I make myself go for like a half-hour walk every morning. Sometimes listening to a podcast, sometimes just in silence.
Yeah.
And I find that's really helpful, just kind of clears my head. And I feel like I need a lot of alone time as well. Like I think when you're in a job where it's so focused on having so much energy and being so engaged with other people, like I literally get home and I'm like, just need to be by myself.
100%.
Like I live by myself, and I feel like I need that time to just like recharge almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's harder to get that, you know, in this day and age, like with just the background noise in
so
living in a city like this, you know, it's so hard to deal with, just to, you know, we're so like removed from ourselves, you know, just by living in the way that we do in this day and age, that to come home and be with ourselves is actually difficult.
Yeah.
The thing we want, and actually the thing we need the most, is the hardest to do, because we're so used to not being alone with what we call the mind.
I know.
You know?
You have to be so comfortable with yourself, or else you don't really like figure all those things out. You know? Yeah, like, and I'll just be like overwhelmed by like, I can't fucking message someone back. I don't want to go on, I'll go, you know, for like a week without going on Instagram, because I'm just like, I don't fucking need it. Like, it's just this overwhelming, like this engagement that I just don't need.
Exactly.
You
exactly.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's having like the discipline to actually, you know, go through with that. You know, we all do things all the time. It's like, I know I don't need to be doing this right now. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then you finish and you're like, fucking piece of shit. You know, it's like going out and drinking a heap of time and taking heaps of gear. It's like, fuck. It was good at the time. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, even at the time I knew that I'm going to regret this. What am I doing?
That's how I feel about being on Instagram for like a solid week.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you fucking piece of shit. Like, why? Who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know. I guess my final question for you is it's slightly ambiguous, but like I was having this idea that I'd like to one day like write my own obituary, and just to kind of get an idea of how I'd want to be remembered, or how I could get an idea of who I want to be. And how would you want to be remembered? Like,
oh my God,
what's on your tombstone?
I guess I'd want to be remembered as someone who never stopped trying, and didn't want to be fucking average, didn't want to accept being average, I guess. And not even for one specific thing. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to be like really good at weightlifting or really good, just like not being satisfied with being mediocre in like any aspect of life, really. Like, that's how I'd want to be remembered. Yeah.
I love it. Where can people find you?
Well, Instagram.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm not going to be on there for a week, but
no, I won't be on there.
Yeah.
Sarah Gets Better is my Instagram, and I've got a website, www.mindgold.com.au, which is where I post my blogs. And I've just written one actually this morning. Finished it this morning. So
what was it?
The one this morning is called Fuck Average.
I love it.
So basically the tombstone thing.
Yeah. Could you see yourself writing a book? Like,
I've actually started trying to write a book before.
Great.
But I think, I don't know. I feel like I'd just constantly be having that I'm not good enough, that imposter syndrome thing. Like, I'd never want to actually publish it because I'd constantly been going back through. I'm sure you found the same thing with yours.
Yeah.
Like, even when I write a blog, I'll spend the next several weeks reading it over and over again and editing it over and over again. So chances are someone will read it. So yeah, you can read it now. It'll be completely different.
Yeah. Fuck average. 7 weeks later, it's like, hey, average is great.
Average is fine, guys. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's just that whole like imposter syndrome, doubting yourself, like doubting that what you have to say is worth listening to. But like we said before, it's not really about that. It's about, I guess, the cathartic experience of putting your thoughts out there, of being vulnerable, of being authentic. And if people don't like it, well, fuck them.
Yeah, and that's not even you. Like, all those thoughts and all that sort of stuff, they feel so personal, you know? And to get with what you said before, like, I edited my first book like 7 times because I had to continually, I actually went the other way. I had to continue. The first book was like 75% authentic. The second edit was 78%. And then I was just like, you have to be 100% honest here, to the point where some of the stuff in that book, like when I wrote that final edit, I was really, really nervous because I just did not want people.
It does make you nervous though. Like, if I post anything, I get so anxious about it for days.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my God, what are people going to think? That's actually how I think.
Yes,
if someone doesn't like that means they don't like me.
Exactly. It's actually me.
It's actually me. It's not this fake persona that I'm trying to put out there.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to come across a certain way. This is actually how my mind works.
Yeah.
And the fear of like people thinking, well, she's fucking shit.
Yeah, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's what I was worried about. Like, that dude
God.
is fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. Every time I post one.
Yeah.
I'm just like, gah.
Yeah. I'm not crazy. Hey, I'm just like you, man. But that's the thing.
Hard.
It's like that thing is not you. That's the animal brain that is set up to run to pleasure and run away from pain. That is not who you are. They're thoughts. Thoughts are the cognitive process of trying to understand what the body is telling you emotively. And it's just basically like, oh shit, that we think our amygdala, this whole system is set to prepare us for the tiger being on our bed every fucking day. It's like, holy fuck, tiger in your bed, get safe, come on, give me that food, you know, give me that sex, give me that procreate, you know, you're enough, you're okay.
Yeah.
Anytime you go against that, you get those thoughts, you're like, holy shit, I'm crazy. Like, you're not crazy. You're just an animal. You're a fucking animal.
It's like the modern day version of having a tiger
Yeah.
in your cave when you come home is like someone unfollowing you on Instagram.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's the fucking worst that can happen, so calm the fuck down.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so true.
Yeah.
So true. But it's hard because it's like, you know, we do our like exactly like you said, I'm probably just going to repeat it, but the modern day version is like slow Wi-Fi. It's like, oh shit, there's no fucking chocolate in the fridge. Like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's like, whoa,
exactly.
man, it's all right.
Like I wanted Halo Top last night. Fucking Good Friday.
Yeah.
I had to drive around for like 15 minutes
It's
to
fucked.
find it was
What we have
a
to deal with.
nightmare.
I know. Says, that was awesome.
Thank you so much.
We'll get you back on the show. You know, we'll do a couple of months and then we'll see what that fuck average blog's like then.
Yeah, it'll be completely different.
Done.